and we have a juicy conversation tonight. I'm your host, Good Energy. I'm in the studio tonight, so welcome to Tennis After Dark. If you're new here, come inside, have a look around, drop a heart, show some love, hit the super thanks. And if you are not familiar, listen, guys, I speak from the heart. I'm passionate. I grab the microphone and I just talk. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a script. I don't plan what I say. Therefore, you're always going to get the truth. Now, Coco Gauff victorious today after taking out Magdalena Frakash. And if you watch the match, the forehand was on full display beautifully. The announcers that called the match said Coco's forehand looks amazing. She's not having any issue with the forehand lately. But as well as the backhand, she showed her amazing backhand down the line, her power, her strength, her athletic ability. But there's been a lot of controversy in the tennis world. In case you're not familiar, we have an issue with who fans are emerging as the new big three. Let's get into it, guys. Now, Coco Gauff with the Jordan fist pump earlier as she made easy work out of Magdalena Frakash. Coco actually has mentioned in the past that clay is her favorite surface. That's right. A lot of you guys don't know she's a junior clay slam champion. And she actually made the Roland Garros a slam final at only 18 years old, a teenager. That's right, guys. Who in this current top 10 has made a slam final as a teenager? How are we going to determine the big three? Well, first of all, we know that Iga Swiatek is the world ranked number one. She's got more than 3,000 point than the nearest person inside the top 10 that's closest to her, which is Aryna Sabalenka. So we know for a fact that Iga Swiatek, the world number one, is by far the best player inside what would be considered the big three. She's number one for a reason, right, guys? Great footwork, amazing quick strike tennis, an amazing short rally player. And for the most part, she owns the head-to-head against Coco and Aryna Sabalenka, but not Elena Rybakina, right? She's beat Coco several times. She's beat Aryna Sabalenka 7 times, but she's lost to Elena Rybakina at least 7 times. But let's take a look at Coco. Now, have you guys heard about the new Topspin video game? Right? It's amazing. Look, I purchased it. This is by far the best tennis game ever made. Now, Coco talked about this game coming out a few months ago, and she talked about how she couldn't wait to play with the big three: Novak, Roger, Nadal. But there's a big controversy brewing on the women's side of the sport. Who is the real big three? And we are going to get into it tonight. Listen, guys, no script. I'm just talking from the heart. So make sure you like the video. If you've listened so far, hit the super thanks. Matter of fact, go back and like all 6,000 of my videos, guys. What are we doing here on this channel? We are bringing attention to the WTA sport. And listen, guys, I'm telling you guys, since I've come on with this channel, I had a previous tennis channel, but this channel, since I've come on with this channel, the popularity of the WTA is going through the roof. Everyone's talking about it. And that's the objective with this channel here. I want to bring tennis to every household in the world weekly. I reach over 100,000 listeners, and I want to thank you all for the love and support. Who's the real big three? Let's get into it, guys. Iga is number one. Who's number two? Is it Sabalenka? Well, she's ranked number two in the rankings, and let's just say she's number two. But who belongs number three? Is it Coco or is it Elena Rybakina? Now, Marta Kashuk did an interview, I want to say around February, and she said that this current big three is really unpredictable with the schedule. She said you never really know what you're going to get. Not exactly in those words, but, along the lines of because the schedule's so grueling, the performance of the big three kind of varies. But she wasn't talking about the top three WTA players, Coco, Iga, Sabalenka. She was talking about Iga, Sabalenka, and Elena Rybakina. She ignored Coco. Okay. Aryna Sabalenka was asked earlier this week, does she prepare for Iga Swiatek? She said yes. And she also mentioned her big three. She said Iga, herself, and Elena Rybakina. Iga was also asked about her current big three. Now, she didn't mention Coco as well. She mentioned Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina. Why? Because she claims that they are the most consistent. Well, let's take a look at consistency. Okay. So Aryna Sabalenka this year, she is 20-6, right? She's won 20 matches, she's lost 6. Elena Rybakina this year on the season is 30-5, but she's played more tournaments. Coco Gauff on the season is 22-7. Now, in terms of losses, Coco and Sabalenka, they're only separated by one loss. In terms of losses between Coco and Rybakina, they're only separated by 2 losses. Coco has 7, Elena Rybakina has 5. Not really a big difference there. But this season, look, we haven't even made it through the second Grand Slam. But Elena Rybakina, who's been complaining about scheduling and fatigue, has played more matches than Sabalenka. She's played more tournaments than Sabalenka and Coco. Coco, I mean, there's been a stretch there after the Australian Open where she took time off. So in terms of separation, there's not much there if you factor in the, you know, amount of tournaments and matches that Elena Rybakina has played. She's played more matches and tournaments. So let's go back the last 2 seasons. Last year, Elena Rybakina was 47-17. Coco was 51-16. Coco had more wins. So over the course of the last 2 seasons, of course, this season we're not through with the second Grand Slam yet. Coco won 73 matches and 23 losses. Elena Rybakina 77 matches and 22 losses. She also played more tournaments. Well, okay, what about trophies? Elena Rybakina won 5 titles over the course of the last 2 seasons. And Coco won 5 titles over the course of the last 2 seasons. Coco won a Grand Slam. Elena Rybakina did not win a Grand Slam. Rybakina also won a couple more matches because she's played several more tournaments than Coco. Coco Gauff just turned 20. Elena Rybakina is 23 years old. So she's older than Coco. I'm sorry, she's 24 years old. So she's 4 years older than Coco. How are we judging the big 3? Are we judging it based on wins, titles, amount of tournaments played? Are we judging it on age? Because Coco's a lot younger than Rybakina, and she's accomplished a lot more on the main tour. So how are we going to judge this here? Aryna Sabalenka is 26 years old. She's 6 years older than Coco. There's no one inside the top 10 that has accomplished what Coco has as a teenager. Iga is right there with Coco in terms of accomplishments as a teenager. She's right there. She's the only one in the top 10, and their numbers are very comparable. They're literally identical. Iga has more wins because she played more matches. Coco came in as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old with schedule restrictions and limitations. But in terms of championships, consistent right there as a teenager. Coco's the only player inside this, let's just say big 4, that to win multiple junior Grand Slams and make it into at least the 4th round of a Grand Slam as a teenager before the age of 16. Coco's the only player inside this top four to make it to a WTA yearly finals in singles and doubles. Not once, but twice in singles and doubles. I mean, how are we judging this big three? Because, I mean, she's done these things as a teenager. I mean, Aryna's 26. Let's add 6 years onto Coco's career. I mean, what are we talking about here? She's going to have accomplished, I mean, let's add 4 years. Elena Rybakina's 24. She's going to have accomplished a lot more. What is going on here? Are we dealing with jealousy? I mean, because Coco's the highest paid player and on tour, the highest paid female athlete in the world. What is it? Because we're not talking about numbers here, right? We can't be talking about numbers because by the age of 19, Sabalenka didn't have a Grand Slam. She didn't have, all of these accolades. And look, I'm not going to name them. I mean, Coco, the youngest player to win 50 matches in Master 1000 events, the only teenager to do that. That's insane, guys. I mean, we're not talking about numbers. What are we talking about? Are we talking about Coco's recent struggles with her serve? Because if we are, then that kind of highlights how great she is because she only got 7 losses on the season. And of the 7 losses, 5 of them have gone 3 sets and she was up. She had a chance to serve the match out. So we're not talking about stats. What are we really talking about when we're talking about the big three? Are we talking about rankings? Well, we're certainly not talking about rankings because rankings is based on points, which is based on winning matches. So we can't be talking about rankings. We can't be talking about points. What are we actually talking about? We can't be talking about popularity because Coco's by far the most recognized face on the WTA. So what are we actually talking about? Are we talking about haters? Now listen, guys. One journalist wrote, after Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek's cold shoulder, fans turned against Coco Gauff as she fails to justify her WTA rankings. What kind of an article is this? As she fails to justify her WTA rankings. How do you fail to justify matches you've already won? How do you fail to justify points that you own currently? What is going on here? Do you see the power of media, right? Do you see how important it is to just speak facts? And why do you think I talk about numbers so much on the channel here? I talk about numbers because, look, numbers are what they are. Numbers are results. Fails to justify her WTA rankings. How do you fail to justify matches you've won? We use a ranking system for a reason. When you win matches, you get points. If you want to be ranked high, you have to win matches. You can't, it's like accomplishing something and someone trying to take it away from you. This is what haters do. Okay? So Coco is by far the most popular player on the channel, but she also gets a lot of hate, and a lot of the comments you guys don't see because look, if you're talking trash that has no validity, you're just gonna get blocked. It's as simple as that. You can fair criticize with evidence to back it up, but if you're just saying stuff that's ridiculous, there's no place in that. Right? These players, all of them are amazing, and I give all of them their flowers. That's what this channel is about. But I talk constantly how these players, they go through so much stress and stuff like that I don't want people just coming here talking trash. And I said, look, we're happy being a small tennis network, because it's about having good conversations about good matches, not about bashing players. And I say it all the time. If a player's cheating or doing something wrong, it's fair game. We're going to talk about it. But just to disrespect a player because, you're not having a good day, we're not going to do that here. And the reality here is we're talking about class and dignity and respect for the game. Who has more class than Coco? I mean, Aryna's had so many struggles in the past. I think she's coming around and she's maturing as a woman, but she's 26. Take a look at Coco, who's 20 now. Coco hasn't had any issues. She's had to stand up for getting cheated repeatedly on the court. She had to stand up and fight for her rights and for herself. She's a classy young lady. She's been raised right. She's very respectful to the game, her players, her opponents. You know, you don't see her trying to hold up her opponents, try to tie her shoe or doing jumping jacks at the net. You don't see her doing dirty tactics to win. You know, we can't say that for everyone in the top 10. You know, you can't you haven't seen Coco trying to smash boom microphones and, you know, curse players out and you know, do all this disrespectful stuff here to gain an edge. You don't see Coco do that kind of stuff. And it's like when we talk about great players, and especially someone that's ranked number 3 in the world, if we're not considering how classy of a person they are as well, then I think it's a shame. I think it's disrespect to the fans, to the players, and the sport, especially when we're talking about someone that has been so great and consistent. She just turned 20 and she's been inside the top 10. She hasn't even been on the tour for 4 full seasons, and she's been in the top 10 for 3 of them, for crying out loud. That's insane. That's insane. And it's like, I say a lot here, we want to give the players their flowers while they're playing. And look, I grab the mic and I hit power. I don't have a script. This is coming from the heart. This is truth. This is passion. We have to put more respect on Coco's name. We're seeing greatness. And this is the problem with great athletes, right? They're so great at an early age that they get so much hate, and then they don't get the love they deserve until they retire and they're gone, right? We saw this with Floyd Mayweather. He didn't get the love and respect until he retired. We used to go to all of his matches. We used to spend, you know, thousands of dollars for floor seats and watch his matches, and people would boo him. You know, it's a shame. He would get booed. But now they call him the greatest. The same with Ali. Muhammad Ali, look, before my time, but you can watch the archives. They talked trash about Ali. They booed him. They hated him. He was arrogant. He was this. They call him the greatest now. He didn't get that until after he retired. You know, Michael Jordan wasn't liked when he played. A lot of people thought he took a lot of shots. He was a gunner. Now he's the greatest ever. You know, Serena, when Serena played, Serena, it was mixed reviews. You know, now we know clearly, you know, she's known as the greatest, but it was mixed reviews, you know. She got booed too in these places like France, you know, Indian Wells. She got disrespected a lot by other players as well. But now the consensus is hands down, she's the greatest of all time. So we have to stop doing this to these players while they're playing and missing greatness. You know, the athletic ability of Coco, by far the fastest player on tour, right? By far one of the best defenders on tour. By far one of the best backhands on tour. You know, Coco's got the best backhand of all the top 3 or top 4 by far. You know, we would give Elena Rybakina the serve advantage. We would give maybe Sabalenka, you know, I wouldn't even say she has the best forehand. I'd probably say Iga has the best forehand. Sabalenka just overpowers opponents. She's just very strong. But when it comes to actual skill, you know, Iga Swiatek is very skilled, but she uses a very strategic plan to beat opponents. You know, it's short rallies. It's very strategic. Elena Rybakina is skilled. She's got good aces, but she's not a great defender. You can break Elena Rybakina, you can hold. A lot of her matches go over. You know, when it comes to defending, Coco's numbers has shown she's the best defender. In fact, if we're going to talk about the top 3, and let's exclude Iga because she's clearly the number 1 here, right? She's been the most consistent out of all these four players. But if we're going to talk about the remaining three, Sabalenka, Coco, and Elena Rybakina, well, let's just, if we're going to talk, if we're going to ignore ranking, right? Because Coco's the third ranked player in the world. If we're going to ignore ranking, we have to at least compare how they've played against each other. Coco's the only one of the three that owns the head to head over both of the other opponents. Like, how are we ignoring that? Coco has beat Sabalenka 4 times. She owns a head to head there. She's never lost to Rybakina. They played once. I mean, like, how are we judging? How are we gauging this? So we're going to ignore points, and we're going to ignore the fact that Coco owns a head to head over both of them. If that's not like some hater type stuff, I'm not sure what is. And we're also going to ignore the fact that Coco has had more championships as a teenager. I mean, she said she's won 7 titles as a teenager. These ladies haven't done that. We're going to ignore that as well. The fact that she's on average 4 years younger than both of them, we're going to ignore that as well. What are we doing here, guys? Is this where the sport's going? That we're just going to just disrespect players with these like ridiculous articles? So this one journalist, actually, she's probably the only one I've seen with the common sense here. Why not Coco? What gives? Right? She questions the big three, and she says herself, why wouldn't Coco be in the big three when she owns the head to head over Sabalenka and Rybakina? Why wouldn't she be in the big three? Like, why? What is the basis? What are we gauging it on? Because if we want to take a look at draws, Coco's had the hardest draws by far. How many times has Iga been in Coco's draw? Simona Halep, when, there's been a lot of controversy about Simona Halep, using stuff to get an edge. Serena, Osaka. Coco's had for her to win the U.S. Open, for crying out loud, she had to go through 3 Grand Slam champions. Did you see Aryna Sabalenka's draw at the Australian Open? What, like 3 qualifiers? Barbora coming back off of injury? What are we talking about here? Are we really talking about draws here? Coco's draw has been literally the toughest I've seen in a player. Iga's draws at some of these slams she's won have been a cakewalk. So it's like, not only do we constantly put Coco up against the toughest players because it's going to draw revenue for the sport, because we need Coco playing the biggest name so people can tune in. So that's a disadvantage. She wins matches and gets points, and we ignore that. That's a disadvantage she has. She has to argue with chair umpires cheating her out of points and letting her opponent break rules. That's a disadvantage. We've seen Iga in the past break rules, do jumping jacks at the net, tie her shoes, hold her racket up, run and switch rackets in the middle of play, take forever on bathroom breaks. It's like, what are we doing here? It's like Coco does everything right and she still gets hated on. Are we kind of noticing a pattern here? What is going on in the world today? She wins 7 titles as a teenager. Rybakina didn't do that. Sabalenka didn't do that. A Grand Slam as a teenager. Sabalenka didn't do that. Goes through 3 Grand Slam champions. Puts up 50 wins last year. Dominates the USA leg of the tour. Like, was that just luck or something? All while changing her serve. Wins a championship this year. She's the only, aside from Sabalenka, she's the only player in the top 4 of this list that we're comparing, aside from Sabalenka, to make it to a Grand Slam semifinal appearance this year. Iga didn't make a Grand Slam semifinal appearance this year. Rybakina didn't. Coco did. And she was up 6-5, 30 love. Should have won the match. Got a little bit too comfortable. If you ask me, I told you why. Her outfit was too tight. Did you see how tight that outfit was? I think the outfit affected her. That outfit was way too tight. I don't think she had proper circulation with that outfit. What are we doing here? And this is my rant because these aren't people that are actually watching these matches. Coco's got 7 losses this year, and 5 of them have gone 3 sets, and she was leading in them. This is what the deal is, okay? This is the real deal. Coco's so young and so good that these older women, and this is what mediocrity, you know, the nerve of mediocrity, right? It's like you don't want to give the younger player their respect and their due because it makes you look bad. Yeah, Coco's got the same amount of titles as me, and look, I'm 4 years older than her, I'm 6 years older than her. When you start to give Coco all of this respect, then it's like, hey, well, what was you doing at 19 and 20? This is what it's really about. You can't give Coco all of this respect now, right? Because it makes you look bad. That's all it is. It's all it is, right? Marta's, how old is Marta? Marta's like, got to be like 22, right? Marta Kostyuk's 22. You can't say Coco's that good because then you have to look at yourself in the mirror. What have you done? You don't have a Grand Slam. You don't have 7 titles. And that's another match where she beat her at the Australian Open, but she lost recently in Germany. She had a chance to serve the match out. So she's trying this new serve that Coco's never made this many double faults. And again, we have people that they're just listening or just reading the comments, but they're not actually watching the matches. They don't really understand what's going on. She's trying to implement new technique in her game that's causing errors. She can't get it down. Okay, I think she's got to bring in a mechanics coach. She can't get the serve down. She's never made this many double faults, okay? She's never. Okay, and she's still having a chance to win these matches trying this new technique. Is the serve, is it the forehand? Well, if it's her serve and her forehand and she's still winning all these matches, well, darn it, she's got to be pretty darn good. Okay? Because she's a defensive powerhouse, just shutting opponents down. It's just a lot of unnecessary hate. And this is what it's really about. It's a combination of two things. Coco travels with her parents, right? So there's an element there that a lot of people think she's still. I mean, look, I remember Coco came on the scene. I still look at Coco like a young lady. She is a young lady, even though she's 20. So there's an element here where you have the 26-year-old, the older layers. They kind of look at her as a little girl because she's still young. She travels with her parents. There's a family element there, and we have to protect Coco. She needs to travel with her parents. Okay, keep her safe, protect her. She's our American sweetheart. Okay, so there's an element there where it's kind of a lack of respect because she's kind of looked at as this young girl that still travels with her parents. But the reality is a lot of players do. Elena Ostapenko's a slam champion. She travels with her mom. A lot of players travel with their fathers and their parents. But Coco's just such this young sweetheart. She's been doing it since 14, 15, that we kind of look at her as a younger lady still, right? So there's a respect issue there because a lot of people still view her as this young sweetheart. But the other element I just talked about is you can't give Coco too much credit because it makes you look bad, right? Even though she's ranked number 3 by winning matches and winning titles and Grand Slams, a Grand Slam, we can't give her the credit she deserves because it makes me look bad. What was I doing at 17? She's already made 2 Grand Slam finals by the age of 19. Sabalenka didn't do that. Rybakina didn't do that. Right? And 2 Grand Slam finals by 19. Iga didn't even do that. Okay? Iga didn't make her second Grand Slam final till 20. So what are we doing here, guys? We're not going to give Coco the respect she deserves. She by far had the best junior career out of any of these ladies. None of these ladies was making the 4th round of a Grand Slam at age 15 years old. For crying out loud, Serena Williams said, I was never that good at 15. And she's the greatest to ever play. Telling you. How many times? And it's not the professional former players and athletes that say this. These are the biased journalists and the hater fans that don't even watch the matches. Any of the professionals all say it. They say, look, she's got the best footwork. She's the best defender. She's the fastest on tour. She's going to have the best career out of all of them. I watched all the tennis matches. All of the ex-players and announcers, they all say the same thing about Coco. Okay? She's going to have the best career when it's all said and done. They say it all the time. But the problem is, and most of the players say it as well, but you have certain players that don't want to give Coco the respect because it's going to make them look bad. If you are on the losing side of a head-to-head, I don't see how you can talk trash and not include her where she belongs. If you've never beaten her, and it's just there's an element of hate. That's just what it is. It's haters, you know. And I'm not gonna go as far as say it's personal, but at the end of the day, I think it makes older players look bad. It's like, look, we've all competed and played. You have this young phenom that's literally winning all these championships and slams at an early age, and you're older. You haven't had that much success as young and early as them. You're probably going to ignore them too, right? And pick an older player. That's what it is, guys. Just be honest with yourself. Because you can try to pick apart Coco's game all you want to. She has results at an early age. She has the hardware. She has the records. She's got a ton of records. And I've named them in the past. I'm not going to do it now because there's just so many records. I'm not going to go there. Coco owns so many records, right? She has the results. So you can say, hey, she needs to work on her serve. She needs to work on the forehand. She needs to do this. She needs to do that. She needs to be a counterpunch. She needs to do da, 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 da. Whatever, guys. She has the results. Okay? Look at all of the other players inside the top 10. They've not done what Coco has done. Ons is amazing. I love Ons. She has done what Coco's done. Sakkari's amazing. I love her. Elena's amazing. Hasn't done. Okay? These players have not done what Coco's done. Where's the respect? Put some respect on Coco's name. And listen, guys, we all know the number one record right now, Kendrick Lamar dissing Drake. We're going to go in on the shorts, okay? Because F the big three without Coco. Coco is the big three. Okay? And I'm going to tell you guys how this is going to play out. This is my rant, guys. There's no script. We're just talking. I just hit power on the microphone. We're just talking here, okay? And I love this. I enjoy this. I live for this. This is how this is going to play out. In 3 years, Sabalenka is going to be 29. She's going to be on the tail end of her career. She'll be lucky if she gets 1 to 2 more Grand Slams. I say maybe she'll round out 4, maybe 5 Grand Slams. Elena Rybakina is going to be about 27, maybe, going on 28 years old. You know what? It's going to be tough with Rybakina because I don't know if her body's going to hold up. But I'll be generous and say I could see Rybakina winning. And listen, guys, if the Russians were in that draw, she's not a Grand Slampian. She's not a Grand Slampian, okay? She's not a Grand Slampian. She's just not. And I love Rybakina. She's classy. She's sweet. She's great for the sport. Coco and Rybakina are the 2 classiest players on tour, without a doubt. But if the Russians are in that draw, she doesn't win Wimbledon. She doesn't even have a Grand Slam. She's not even in the conversation. Okay, Rybakina said herself she feels like she's not a Grand Slam champion. Okay. And I'm sorry, guys. This is my Stephen A. rant tonight because it's necessary. I'm tired of reading and listening to these videos of people bash Coco, not giving her respect. You know what that's a sign of? It's a sign of insecurity for these other players, not being able to give her the respect she deserves because she's accomplished so much more than all these other players that are older than her. And these just haters that don't even watch tennis, they don't even know the stats. They don't even know how many. I I I hear so many people say Coco's having a bad season. How's she having a bad season? Sabalenka's got 6 losses. Coco's got 7. She's played less tournaments. How's she having a bad season? Explain that to me. She's the only player aside from Sabalenka in this top 4 to make it to the semifinal of a Grand Slam this year. What are we talking about? How's that a bad season? She's won a championship. She won her first 10 matches this year. So, back to Rybakina. Rybakina said she feels like she said she doesn't feel like she's a Grand Slam champion, right? That's what Rybakina said because of the depleted draw. How many titles will Rybakina win? Listen, to be honest with you, it's a tough question because I feel that she can go deep in these draws when she has a bye, when she's playing these weak qualifiers, and I think Rybakina is a solid player. She's got a good serve. She's getting much better. I do like her game, but the reality is we have to factor in that she's 4 years older than Coco. That's a lot of tournaments. That's 16 more Grand Slams. And I mean, if we're going to base it on wins, I mean, Coco won 50 matches last year. Coco's in her prime. That's the opportunity for Coco to have 200 more wins than Rybakina if they were the same age. It's a totally different career. That's a lot of time. 4 years is a lot. That's a lot on the world tour. Okay. Coco's literally won 7 titles in 4 years. She's going to be a lot better the next 4 years. It's a big difference. 6 years, 4 years, 3 years. It's a lot of time. Okay. And this is why Coco's not getting the respect she deserves. And I know I'm going on a rant. This needs to be said. This needs to be heard. Make this video do 1 million views because I'm tired of these haters and these journalists. You're not giving her a fair shake. And Mayweather said this his entire career. Look, why are you guys not giving me a fair shake? How many champions did Mayweather beat in a row? He beat like something like 20 champions in a row. People with world titles. Not this new generation where you could just buy a belt. He beat fighters that had to go earn the belt. Why are you not giving Coco her fair shake? Like, what is going on here? And I've explained the reasons why. Go listen to the video again. But back to Rybakina, and I know I'm going all over the place because I'm so passionate right now. I'm worked up. How many slams will Rybakina win? And I'm just going to say for the next 3 years. I'm not going to say for her career. I'm going to say for the next 3 years. She's got 1 now at Wimbledon. I don't think she wins another slam this year. I think she might be able to get 1 more in the next 3 years. I think she'll be able to get 1 more in the next 3 years. So we'll say she'll have 2 Grand Slams the next 3 years. I'd say Sabalenka could possibly win 2 to 3 more, and that's if Iga gets tripped up because Iga's her kryptonite. And she doesn't want to face Coco. Coco already owns the head-to-head against her, and we see what happens when she faces Coco. Coco brings her forward. She looks like she's got 2 left feet. She looks sloppy. Okay. Coco lost that match at the Australian Open. Sabalenka didn't beat her. Coco lost it. She had the match on her racket. Okay, she's trying this new serve. I feel she's not comfortable with the new serves, and she's faulting a lot. But if Rybakina wins another slam in the next 3 years, that's going to put her at 2. How many slams will Coco have in the next 3 years? That's going to be the main question here. And this is what I want people to know. This is what's going to happen. As Sabalenka nears her 30s in the next 3 to 4 years, Rybakina, I'm not sure if her health is going to be able to hold up. She's complaining now about the schedule. Only 2 things is going to happen. She's either going to play less or her body's, she's telling you her body's wearing down, right? I haven't heard any player besides her complain as much about the schedule. The obligations, the Slam and the Masters. Why are you playing all these other tournaments? I mean, she came out the gate playing so many tournaments. She didn't have to. Don't complain. Like if you're going to play in these tournaments that you don't have to play in, don't complain about it. Okay? Because you didn't see Coco and Iga playing all these tournaments early on. They weren't playing. They were resting. And I think Coco within the next 4 years, I think she's gonna have at least three more Grand Slams. So that's gonna put her at the age of, let's say, 24. Coco's gonna have four Grand Slams. Rybakina doesn't have four Grand Slams right now at 24. Sabalenka didn't have four slams at 24. In fact, she didn't even have one at 24. Coco's gonna have four at 24. Iga's got four now. Okay, and that's at least. But this is what's going to happen as Coco nears 25 and 26, which is Sabalenka's current age now, 26. Coco's going to have years where she's running off 2 to 3 slams a year. Watch, guys. It's going to happen. Just watch. You're seeing someone dominate. You're seeing someone literally dominate quietly, right? Because Coco's got 7 losses this year. 5 of them have gone 3 sets. And out of those 5 losses, she was up in the 3rd set in all of them. And most of them, she was up a break. Even had the chance to serve it out against Marticasio. Madison Keys, she was up a break. You're seeing someone that's just kind of feeling its nearness, just waiting for it all to come together. She's already the best defensive player on tour. She can break you when she needs to. Okay? Once it all comes together, guys, I'm telling you guys, I can spot talent. I watch all these ladies play. Once Coco pulls it all together, she's going to have years where she's winning 2 to 3 slams. She might even pull off the Serena Slam where she has all 4 of them at the same time. I'm telling you guys. And I can go on, but this is my rant because I am tired of seeing these stories like this. Coco Gauff fails to justify her rankings. How can you fail to justify your ranking? No one gives you points. Okay, no one gives you wins. This is crazy. These stories have to stop. And what happens here is because Coco's the highest paid athlete in the world, she's becoming someone that the media can attack, right? Because she's popular, right? Attack the popular person, right? Attack the superstar. So you can get your name out there. You can get your story all over the blogs. It's ludicrous and it needs to stop. This girl by the age of 19 has accomplished more than any of these players in the big 4. This is crazy. Put some respect on her name. Because we're tired of reading these ridiculous reporters and these ridiculous people coming on and just ignoring all of her accomplishments at such an early age. It only happens to the greats. You can tell when someone's great because they receive hate and people try to they try not to acknowledge their accomplishments. That's how you know you're dealing with greatness. And half of them aren't even watching her matches. Did you see that shot she hit today against Magdalena? Magdalena she just smiled like, wow, did she just do that? Did you see Coco Gauff return a drop shot after falling down on the baseline? She got up, returned the drop shot, and won the point. Her opponent looked in the camera and said, WTF. Couldn't believe it. The things she does on the court is super duper amazing. And I'm going to leave it at that, guys. My big 3 is Iga. And look, Sabalenka's pretty darn lucky, okay? Because if she would have got knocked, if Elena Rybakina would have held on up a break, all she had to do was serve the match out. She had 2 chances to serve the match out. If Elena Rybakina would have won, Coco would be number 2 right now. And then what would we say? Would we still say Coco's not in the big 3, even if she would be ranked number 2? What are we doing here, guys? Okay? Coco's the third ranked player in the world. The big three is Iga, Sabalenka, and Coco. Is Rybakina having a good year? She is, but she's playing a lot of tournaments. She's playing a lot of matches, okay? She's playing a lot of matches. And again, if you take a look at the losses that Coco has, she's beating herself. These players aren't beating her. She's up in these matches. And I've talked about this in the past. So once she figures that out and pulls it together, it's a serve. She's going to be a problem, guys. She's going to be a problem because she's got to work on that Serena serve to where she's, and look, we all know her serve has been considered the best serve in women's tennis in the history of women's tennis, right? I mean, just come on, guys. Just go watch the archives of Serena serving. Players not even touching the ball, just so nonchalant, just disguise a kick serve, jamming the hips. She disguised her serve so well. Just people couldn't pick up on it, you know? And that's the sign of a great serve where you do not know where your opponent's going to go with it. How do you return it? You're behind on the rally if you can even get the ball back. So once she figures that out, and she's working hard. Brad Gilbert said, look, you think Coco's on social media doing TikToks and doing interviews all day? She's working really hard. Listen, guys, she's going to pull it together. And even now, she's having a good season. She won a championship. She made the semifinal of a Grand Slam. How many of these ladies in the top 10? Zachary had a stretch, over 3 years? Where she didn't even win a title. And we're going to sit here and act like Coco's not phenomenal. At 19, she's got 7 of them. And a Grand Slam. What's going on, people? What's going on? Are we going to be honest with ourselves and give Coco the respect she needs? We'll be back, guys. Look, I can talk all night about Coco, just how amazing she is. But we're going to conclude this video with the big three. It's Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff. The big three is the top 3 players on tour. You can't exclude Coco from the big three when she's dominated Sabalenka and Rybakina. If she owns the head-to-head against both of them, then by default, she's got to be in the big three. Okay? You can't judge the big three by other players that they're beating when they're losing to the person you want to exclude from the big three. That makes no sense. Make that make sense to me. You're going to judge the big three by beating up on other players and ignore the person that both of those 2 players in common hasn't beat consistently? What are we doing here, people? And I've said the tour, we need to get a Coco Rybakina match so we can just settle this once and for all. Because I've told you guys time and time again, Rybakina's going to struggle against Coco. Coco's going to run circles around Rybakina. Coco's going to be too quick with the passing shots. She's going to destroy Rybakina. And look, I love Rybakina, guys. We're not here to start an argument about me not loving Rybakina. I've told you, her and Coco are the 2 classiest players on tour. But when we're talking about a head-to-head matchup, Coco's going to run circles around Rybakina. Okay? It's a mismatch. It's going to be a mismatch, guys. And look, it could be on clay. I think it would be very bad on clay. If Rybakina played Coco on clay, I think that would be very bad. On grass, it would be even worse. I think Rybakina would have her best opportunity on hard, but I would still think she loses on hard to Coco. It's going to be a mismatch. Coco is too fast. She's going to go watch the short of Coco at Cancun, returning her backhand deep from the baseline. The range she has, that's where Rybakina takes advantage of Iga because of that deep range. Iga doesn't have that range behind the baseline like Coco. Okay, that's one key that Coco has over Iga. Iga does not have that range deep behind the baseline like Coco. That's where Rybakina's strength, it's not going to affect Coco. Anything in between the short balls, the passing shots, Coco's just going to dominate Rybakina. I'm telling you guys, We need matchmakers. We need Coco and Rybakina. We need to see that matchup so we can settle this big three thing once and for all. Okay. And I also look. I'm gonna keep going here, guys. We talked about the Olympics and will Coco medal? You're telling me on clay, guys, Coco has no chance to medal? Are you crazy? Come on, guys. Yeah, she can win singles and doubles in France. That's how good she is on clay. Coco's pretty darn good on clay, guys. I look. I can't think of two, three other players beside Iga and Sabalenka that you're gonna pick over Coco to win a medal. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, guys? There aren't that many elite players out there on clay that just gonna outclass Coco. Now we're talking about the top players from each country. We're not talking about a stacked draw here where you got qualifiers coming through, a slam or a master clay tournament where they're hot, they're warmed up to the surface, and anything can happen. We're talking about the top few players from each country taking on Coco. Let's put Iga to the side. Let's put Sabalenka to the side. Okay. Take a look at all these other countries. Take a look at the top few players from each country. You're going to mean to tell me that who's going to just destroy Coco here on clay? Let's start with, I don't know, Belgium. You're going to take Elise Mertens over Coco on clay? I don't think so. Let's talk about Italy. You saw what she did to Jasmine Polini. I love Jasmine. She's your top ranked Italian. Coco destroyed her every time she's played her. Where are we going to go to? Where else are we going to go? I don't know. Pick a country, guys. What are we doing here? You can't name that many other players to just say Coco's not going to medal. She's got a great chance to medal. I like her chances to bring home a medal. And matter of fact, we're going on the record right now. Coco will win a medal in France this year. Okay? There it is. Coco's going to win a medal in France this year. She is. She's going to win a medal in France. That's a fact. Coco will win a medal in France, guys. Whether it's singles or doubles, she's going to bring home a medal to the United States. That's a fact. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Good energy. And we're going to end on that note. Like the video, show some love, guys. At the end of the day, this is for entertainment, guys. We do this for entertainment. Don't take none of this personal. And I don't take any of these stories personal, guys. And you shouldn't either. These are journalists. They're trying to, at the end of the day, they're trying to make people talk. But nonetheless, we do have to give Coco her respect, guys. There's none of these players in the top 10 have done what she's done as a teenager. And the fact that we don't acknowledge that, it's actually kind of sad if you do think about it. But much love and respect to all these players. My goal and objective is to bring tennis to as many households as we can. Every week we reach over 100,000 listeners. So I thank you guys for the love and support. Again, it's a lot of the old videos. Make sure you like the new stuff, guys. Drop a heart. Comment below. Keep it respectful. Again, this is entertainment. We don't want to start name calling and disrespecting the fans or the players, but have a respectful adult conversation. I hope you enjoyed the entertainment I gave you for the last 20 minutes or so, but let's have a conversation. We'll be back and I'll see you guys soon.